Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Terp Family Fundamentals webinar series. My name is Danielle Walker, and I'm the program coordinator in the Office of Parent and Family Affairs here at Maryland. For those that are new, this webinar series is intended to help you become informed consultants on campus resources so that you can be a better resource and support for your Terp. Today, we're joined by staff in the Department of Resident Life. They will discuss on-campus room selection and how you can support your Terp as they navigate this process. If you find that you have questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to submit those via the Q&A feature. To access the Q&A feature, find the two conversation bubbles towards the bottom of your screen. It should say Q&A underneath as well. If you don't see that, you may need to click the three dots towards the right or bottom of your toolbar to expand that, and you should be able to see the Q&A there. To help us answer questions that the majority of you have, I ask that you use the upvote option. So within the Q&A feature, if you see a question that you also would like the answer to, instead of retyping the same question, just click the thumbs up icon. That is considered an upvote, and we'll be prioritizing the questions that we answer live by the most upvotes. Also be sure to look at the answered tab within the Q&A feature, as some of the questions will have already been responded to, and so you'll find the answers there. We will do our best to respond to as many questions as we can before the end of the webinar. Lastly, the webinar will be recorded, so it will be available on our Terp Family YouTube channel afterwards, so just be on the lookout for that if you want to rewatch or share it with your Terp. So with that, I will hand off the presentation. Welcome, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Department of Resident Life's Stay On, the Maryland Residential Experience webinar. Hello, my name is Michelle McCubbin. I'm the Assistant Manager of Assignments, and I will be co-presenting the webinar with Glenn Smith, our Manager of Assignments and Public Inquiry. We will be presenting you with the benefits of living in on-campus housing. Our Assistant Director, Matt DeCecco, will be answering your questions in the Q&A. Our campus population. We have 30,762 students, total undergraduate students. We have 8,100 on-campus residential students, 2,879 students in public-private partner communities. We are home to more than 12,000 residents. Our residents represent the culturally rich and diverse campus we call home, with residents hailing from 42 states, including DC, and 48 different countries. Living in the residence halls offers a unique experience of engaging and living with persons who are different from oneself and provides the opportunity to learn about yourself and others. The Department of Resident Life provides housing options for students during their undergraduate experience. First-year students who meet the priority housing deadline are guaranteed on-campus housing. For fall 2021, we anticipate most, but perhaps not all, of students going into their second year who meet the priority housing deadline will be offered housing. For students going into their junior and senior years, only those students in exempted groups who meet the priority housing deadline will likely be able to secure housing in the residence halls for fall 2021. Students entering their junior and senior years and who have lived on campus for the first 2 years have priority access into our capstone properties, South Campus Commons and the Courtyard Apartments. Our off-campus housing office also offers support and services for students searching for alternative housing options. Our residence halls. Total number of residence halls is 35, divided into 5 communities. Our public-private partners are South Campus Commons and the Courtyards. While there is no live-on requirement, 62% of our first-year students choose to return for their second year. Our North Campus communities are Cambridge, Allocate, and Denton. Living and learning programs include College Park Scholars, University Honors, Gemstone, BioFire, Carillon Communities, Flexus, and Virtus. The total number of students is 5,550. Students who live on this side of campus live in close proximity to the Recreation Center, the football and basketball stadiums, and the Performing Arts Center. Additionally, there are 2 dining halls. For returning students, there will be a significant number of single rooms available during room selection. Students can also form groups of 4 during room selection to shop for available semi-suites in Oakland Hall. Oakland Hall also has a small number of double rooms. South Campus. The South Campus communities are North Hill and South Hill. The living learning programs are Writers House, Language House, Civicus, Honors Humanities, Global Communities, ACES, and DCC. The total number of students is 3,600, and for South Campus Commons, that's 2,174. A large percentage of returning students will live on this side of campus. The South Hill community consists primarily of suites and apartments. Students who wish to cook their own meals will find the apartments attractive as they do not require a dining plan. The North Hill community, the newest residence hall, Prince Frederick, offers singles, doubles, and semi-suites. Students looking for single rooms will find them in Wacomico, Caroline, and finally Carroll Hall, which is also a substance-free building. Our staff. We have over 90 full-time professionals and graduate students. We have over 500 student staff, including resident assistants, community assistants, office assistants, and more. We have 17 full-time professionals who live in the residence halls as resident directors. They oversee and manage student residents and supervise the resident assistants.
Thank you, Michelle. My name is Glenn Smith. I'm the manager for the assignments office, and I will dive deeper into the room selection process. This is the process in which students can request a room for next year. So the first step is that students must complete the on-campus housing and dining agreement. That form is now available on the housing portal, which is stars.umd.edu. The deadline to complete the on-campus housing and dining agreement is March 26th at 4 p.m. All students interested in living on campus next year must submit this form by the deadline. Room selection process itself is a live process. This is where students will be able to shop and select the space for next year. Students will be able to form groups from sizes 2 to 7. They can also shop individually. Students will be able to shop if they are in a living learning program and wish to return. They'll be able to take advantage of the living learning program selection. Otherwise, they will be able to shop in the apartment, suite, semi-suite, and traditional halls shopping phase. Keep in mind that living learning program restrictions remain in effect. So a student who is not in a living learning program will not be able to live in those areas. We do allow mixed gender groups. Students who are interested in having a mixed gender group should complete the mixed gender training, which is found on our website, reslife.umd.edu. Once again, the deadline to apply is March 26th at 4 p.m. A little bit about our inventory. About 70% of the rooms are double rooms. 13% of the rooms are triples and quads. However, next year we expect to only have single occupancy and double occupancy. So those triples and quad rooms will only have 2 students living in them. And then 12% of our inventory are singles. A little bit about our apartment suites and semi-suites. As mentioned before, they are located in the South Hill community. Apartments have kitchens and a dining and a living room space. Students who are assigned to apartments certainly can cancel their dining plan if they so wish. Our suites are similar to apartments, except for they do not have kitchens, and students must have a dining plan in those spaces. Our semi-suites are found in both Oakland Hall and Prince Frederick. Semi-suites are 2 bedrooms divided by a bathroom in the middle, in which the 4 students share, 2 students in each bedroom. If interested in seeing some more of our lovely photos, you can visit in our virtual tours, you can visit our website, reslife.umd.edu/live here, one word, /virtual tours, one word. Most important thing to take from this presentation is that all students must apply for housing. Again, they will go log into their housing portal with their directory ID and password and complete the on-campus housing and dining agreement. Some of the questions that students may want to determine is if they want to shop for their same room, they certainly can do that. Do they want to have a friend join them now that we have double rooms again? They certainly can consider that. Is there any other housing considerations a student should be concerned with? Do I have medical needs that I need to consider when I'm shopping? And again, the deadline is 4 p.m. on March 26th. More information about room selection can be found on our website, reslife.umd.edu/room selection, all one word. Again, the timeline for the agreement is March 1st through March 26th at 4 p.m. Students who wish to return to their living learning program will be able to select April 1st through April 2nd. Each student will receive a shopping appointment for that time. If students want to make a group of 2 to join together, they will select whoever the group leader will be, and that group leader will select the space. All other students will participate in the second round of shopping, which is apartments, suites, semi-suites, and traditional hall selection. Again, on March 31st, all students will receive an email notifying them of their eligibility to participate in room selection. If you're eligible to participate in room selection, you will also receive a shopping appointment on April 5th. Students will form groups. They will elect a group leader. The group leader, based on their shopping appointment, will then shop through our apartments, suites, semi-suites, and traditional hall and select for that entire group. I've said it many times, I'll say it again. The deadline to submit your on-campus housing and dining agreement is March 26th at 4 p.m. Please do not miss that deadline. For more information, give us a call or email us at reslife@umd.edu. You can also go visit our website for more information. Now we'll take any questions that you may have.
Great. Thank you both. So the first question that came through to answer live is, can a student go into room selection as a single, or is it preferred that they have a group? And if they are single, how can they find other students that are looking for roommates?
Great question. So students can shop as individuals. There will be a number of single rooms available in our traditional halls. There will also be a number of double occupancy rooms available for just one student, and they will get a roommate either through room selection or other means. The other option would be is that students, when they participate in room selection, there is a roommate search feature that they'll be able to utilize. They'll be able to search via the student's profile. They can look up a student's profile, and then if they feel like that student fits what they're looking for, they can contact that student on the housing portal.
Great, thank you. And can you, you mentioned this during the presentation, but can you speak to how many students will be in a space? So we have singles, doubles, triples, and quads, but for the fall, we're only having singles and doubles, correct? Even in the triples and quads will only be 2 students?
Right, single rooms will have 1 student. Double rooms will have 2 students. A triple room and a quad room will only have 2 students. A triple room will still have 3 sets of furniture, but only 2 students will reside in that space. Likewise, a quad will have 4 sets of furniture, but only 2 students. In our suites and apartments, it varies. It will range between 4 students per suite apartment or up to 7, even 8 sometimes. So they will vary from room to room. Our semi-suites are only for 4 students, 2 students in each bedroom.
Thank you. As far as the students who would be able to live on campus, will juniors or seniors be eligible to live on campus, or is it only for select students?
On March 31st, all students who completed their on-campus housing and dining agreement by March 25th, 26th, on March 31st, each student will receive an email notifying them of their eligibility to participate in room selection.
Thank you. A follow-up to the number of students that would be in a space. So for a triple or a quad, will students still be charged the price of a triple or quad, or will they be charged? How will you be assessing the cost of those spaces?
I would ask that anyone interested in the rates should go look on our website early next week, and we'll have updated projected costs for fall 2021.
Thank you. The COVID-19 vaccine, is there any update on whether that will be required for students who choose to live on campus?
I will defer to one of my colleagues for that one.
Hi, I'm Scott Young. I'm an associate director. I can tell you at this time, the answer is no. Students will not be required to have a COVID-19 vaccination, specifically because it is emergency use authorization at this time. So we are not requiring students to have the vaccination at this time.
Thank you, Scott. I'm trying to see what other questions. Oh, this is one that has come up. Is a student able to stay in their current space? So if they're living on campus right now, are they able to claim their same space for next semester?
Students can't claim their same space, but they certainly can go shop and select the very same space that they're in now, assuming they're eligible, both to do room selection and to return to their same space. The restriction would be if it was a living learning program space and they are not in a living learning program.
Thank you. The next question is regarding priority. And is there still a priority system? Can you speak a little bit to who has priority and when, or at least how that's considered?
Sure. So the shopping appointments will be based on a student's priority. So for example, a rising senior has the highest priority. So if a rising senior is eligible to participate in room selection, they will have the earliest shopping appointment.
And then from there, what is the priority ranking? Or is there somewhere on the website that I can direct families to see what the priority looks like?
I think if they go onto the room selection website, they can see it, but after rising seniors are rising juniors, and then rising sophomores. Obviously, the rising sophomore group will be the largest, and their appointments will be randomized.
Essentially, what we do with the priority system is based upon the commitment group, students are randomized within their commitment group. So those are the only things that we take into consideration. So for instance, all rising second-year students are then randomized for their appointment times. Any rising juniors who are eligible get randomized based upon their commitment group and so forth. Those are the only things that we take into account are the commitment group standings.
Thank you. There's a few questions within the Q&A regarding living learning programs and how does that impact their priority position, but also where they can select to live or shop to live.
So students who are in the living learning program, like all students, will receive an email on March 31st, letting them know if they are eligible to shop and select. If so, April 1st through April 2nd is the time period in which they'll shop. They will receive a shopping appointment. They can return to their living learning program during this shopping appointment. It'll be based on whichever program they're in is based on where they would be allowed to live. Just as an example, an honors student would be able to live anywhere in the Allocate community that's available to them to shop and select. It's important to note, however, that students who choose not to shop and select during their living learning program phase will have to then shop the semi-suite apartments selection phase, and they may not be able to return back to their living learning program.
So just to clarify, if they don't select during their slated period of time and they end up having to select somewhere outside of that community, it could mean them no longer being a part of the living learning program?
They certainly won't be able to select during room selection. There may be a reassignment process later in which they can get back if space is available.
Okay, great. So as students select their housing option, is there a period after that time where if students want to change or swap with someone else, are they able to do that?
We expect to have some type of reassignment process over the summer, and we'll announce that at a later time.
Thank you for that. I'm trying to see what these next questions are. For those that are answering questions on the background, are there any questions that you want to share live for the entire group? Okay, one question, just to clarify this. What do you mean by a commitment group?
Scott, do you want to take that one?
Sure. Our housing commitments policy, which is available on our website, and I'll get one of our staff to share the link for the housing commitments policy. It basically is how we allocate spaces in our residence hall to students. So for instance, every incoming freshman is listed in the first commitment group. So, and then sophomores or second year students are listed in the second commitment group. Now, to some extent, if I was a transfer student, let's say I spent a year at Carroll County Community College, and then I came into the University of Maryland for next fall, I would still be considered in the second commitment group because of the fact that I started any college or university in the fall of 2020. And so that way we kind of level the playing field for students. So it's not necessarily the amount of time you spent here at the University of Maryland, although most of our students have, but we still have a certain number of students who are transfers or students who are lived off campus and decided they wanted to move onto campus maybe for their second or third year. So our commitment group is how we allocate spaces in our residence halls. So obviously we are first committing to freshmen. So if for some reason the freshmen filled up every available space we have, then we would only house freshmen. If we're able to get to students in the second commitment group, then we would get to students who are returning for a second year.
Thank you, Scott. Another question that my office gets often, and I see has been mentioned within the Q&A, for students who lived off campus this year due to COVID or canceled their agreement before the deadline, how is their priority impacted when it comes to room selection for fall 2021?
I can answer that. Again, this is Scott. For this year, we told students that if they elected not to live on campus and cancel their housing agreement by August 12th, that they would retain their commitment group status. So basically, any first-year student who had scheduled to live with us who canceled between June 17th and August 12th should have gotten an email message from us saying that they are eligible to participate in our room selection process. They still have to meet the March 26, 4 p.m. deadline, but their commitment group standing is would be as if they lived on campus currently.
Thank you, Scott. For first year students, so students that would be, I guess, for the living on campus in fall for the first time, do they need to be going through this process, or once they, these would be incoming students for fall 2021. So would they still need to go through this process, or do incoming students have their own process to apply for housing for fall?
Sure. Incoming students need to submit the on-campus housing dining agreement as well. They have up until May 1st to complete that agreement. They do not participate in room selection. We will communicate with them their process a little bit later in the spring semester. But right now, their only goal is to complete the on-campus housing and dining agreement. Students, however, if a student, incoming freshman, wants to live with a returning student, then they will need to complete the housing agreement. I would suggest do it by March 26th so they can join that returning student. If that returning student is able to participate in room selection, that incoming freshman could join that group.
Thank you. Can you speak to the new residence halls that are being built on campus and timeline for when those are anticipated to be complete?
Scott, you want to take that one?
I was going to actually defer to Laura Tan, who is our Associate Director for Communities, because I think she is much more involved in the aspect of our new residence halls. If Laura, if you don't mind.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Laura. So nice to have all of you with us this afternoon on the webinar. As you know, we are currently building 2 new residence halls and a new dining hall on the North Campus adjacent to Maryland Stadium. We're still finalizing timelines for the openings of those buildings. We're hopeful that we may be able to open one building in the fall, but we're still working through all of this construction logistics with that. If that building does become available, Scott and his team will be working through a process around making assignments for that building. So but we're really excited that those are underway. If you've had a chance to drive on campus, you can see them rising up out of the ground, and they're shaping up to be really beautiful buildings. So, thank you.
Thanks, Laura. We're coming up on time, so I want to get to as many questions as I can. One question is regarding the likelihood of a sophomore being able to secure an apartment or suite. Can anyone speak to the probability of sophomores getting into those spaces?
That's hard to determine because it always will depend on the number of students who apply. And then, as Scott mentioned about the commitment groups, how many rising seniors will be offered housing. Oftentimes the rising seniors and rising juniors will select suites and apartments. So depending on that number, those numbers of students who choose spaces in suites and apartments will then determine what's left for the rising sophomores.
Thank you. In regards to having that leader that needs to select the housing for the group, for suites or the semi-suites, if there's 4 students, would just one be selected to then pull in everyone for that space? Or is it only based on a room so that one person would choose for themselves and the other person in the room?
On March 31st, everyone will receive an email letting them know if they're eligible to participate in room selection. If they are, that's when students should decide who's going to be in our group, how many members will be in the group, and then elect someone to be the group leader. On April 5th, they will receive a shopping appointment. So that group leader, whoever that group leader is, when their shopping appointment time comes, they will shop and select the space for their group. So therefore, that group leader needs to be someone who is responsible enough to meet their appointment time and get everyone assigned, and shop, find a space and get everyone assigned.
We would also encourage, in most cases, that the group leader should be the person with the earliest appointment, simply because the fact that way they have first access to the most amount of spaces. So we would encourage, in most cases, the group leader should be the person with the earliest appointment. And we expect it to be an interactive process. Most students are going to be working with the other members of their group in terms of the selection process. But in terms of early access, the group leader typically is going to be the person who has the earliest appointment.
Thank you. And so I guess there's a little confusion as far as priority. So do first year students have top priority, or is it seniors have top priority?
I can answer that question because it's a little bit complicated. Ultimately, we are going to house first year students. So that if for some reason the freshman class was to explode and take up all of our spaces, then we would only house freshman students. But we know that the freshman class is not going to take up all of our residential spaces. And so therefore then we have students who are in these exempted groups as juniors and seniors. There's a small number, probably less than 500 students who usually fall in that category. But it would be students, for instance, who are juniors and seniors in the Honors College. It would be students who are in the Language House, students who are in the Jimenez Porter. And again, all this information is on our housing commitments. So it lists these groups who are exempted. And then again, depending on the numbers, if we allow some students who, if our applications are low enough and we can get to some rising juniors and rising seniors who are not in exempted groups, then we will do that. But that's really, we have to preserve enough spaces for our freshmen. So that's why we have to limit the number of returning residents we can have, because we know we're going to have house upwards to 5,000 to about 5,500 freshmen. And so that really then dictates how many other returning students we can offer on campus housing.
Thank you. And the last question that I will ask, and for anyone on the back end who's answering questions, if there's anything that you see that you want to answer live, please do that after this one question. But for students who lived on campus, and then lived on campus their first year, then decided for second year this year to live off campus, is there a possibility, are they able to then move back on campus? So not necessarily like moved home for the year, but just decided they wanted to live off campus for this year. Is there an option for them to come back onto campus for their third or fourth year?
I don't know if I completely understand the question. If it's a first-year student who canceled their agreement with us, and said, I can't live in residence halls, but they ended up signing a lease somewhere off campus, they still would be eligible. So we don't necessarily look at where they lived, whether they were living at home or whether they were living with a relative or whether they were living in an apartment off campus or at one of the local hotels who was doing some of these interesting lease arrangements. So if they would have gotten an email from us on March 1st saying that they were eligible, then they are eligible. If they were a student who never submitted a housing agreement and was living off campus and wants to come on, the likelihood of them being able to secure on-campus housing would be very, very low.
Okay, yeah, it was the second one, as far as someone who for their second year decided, nope, I don't want to live on campus, I want to live somewhere else. So they never submitted an agreement to begin with. How easy would it be for them to then come on campus? So
it would be very difficult, because if they lived for their freshman year and then moved off for their second year and now want to come back for their third year, that is very unlikely that they'd be able to secure either a space in the public-private partnerships or in the residence.
okay. And for any of you all, thank you, Scott, for that. For anyone else who's been helping to answer questions, are there anything, any mentions that you want or questions that you want to answer live before we wrap up?
I've seen several questions about suites and apartments. Our suites and apartments, as Glenn mentioned, we are going to offer them as singles and doubles. So if there is a suite or apartment that has 2 doubles and 2 singles, that would be open for a group of 6 students. So that's the expectation, is that we won't have triples and quads, but in terms of our suites and apartments, whatever the space considerations that we can fit into that unit, we intend to use those spaces for that.
Great, thank you all so much. I did see a lot of questions about the P3, so the public-private partnership housing options. There was a webinar earlier this semester. I can put the link to our YouTube channel in the chat for you all. But there was a webinar that I did with the off-campus housing services team that spoke to this and about that process and things to consider. And they would be a good resource as well if you have additional questions about those P3 properties. So I put the YouTube link to our channel there, and you can find that webinar. It's called Navigating Off-Campus Housing with Your Terp. So definitely check that out if you have questions about the off-campus housing options. And even outside of the P3 opportunities, there's other housing options for students within the College Park area. So they can answer a lot of questions about that and support you through that process. I want to thank you all for taking the time to join us this afternoon. You'll see here on this last slide contact information for Resident Life. So if you have any questions about on-campus housing or the dining agreement, please reach out to their office and they would be happy to assist you. As I bring this to a close, I do want to remind you all that this webinar is recorded, and so I'll be adding that on to our YouTube channel tomorrow, at least by tomorrow afternoon. So if you do want to rewatch this or share it with your Terp, share it with someone else, you can do so from there. You'll also receive an email after this webinar with a survey and a link to our YouTube channel. So if you could please Let us know how we did, how we can improve on future webinars. And then if you have any webinars that you would like for us to be able to offer, please share that as well. I enjoy connecting with our campus partners and bringing this information to you all. So please share with me what it is you would like to learn more about so that I can offer those for you. I definitely welcome your thoughts with that. So thank you all again for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.